Dr. He stood at his laboratory window, looking up at the gray sky. It had been exactly 40 years since the last natural rain fell on Earth. He pressed his hand against the cool glass, remembering the stories his grandmother used to tell him about dancing in the rain. Now, at age 35, he had never felt real raindrops on his skin. The world outside was kept alive by artificial rain systems, massive machines that sprayed water into the air at scheduled times. But it wasn't the same. Plants didn't grow as well, and the soil was slowly losing its life. Something important was missing, and He had spent the last 10 years trying to figure out what it was. His computer beeped, pulling his attention away from the window. The screen showed new data from his latest experiment. Heijin's eyes grew wide as he read the numbers. He checked them 3 times to make sure he wasn't seeing things wrong. "This can't be right," he whispered to himself, but the data was clear. According to his readings, there were traces of an unknown energy in the last recorded natural rainfall from 40 years ago. This energy was completely different from anything in the artificial rain they use now. He quickly walked to the old archives section of his lab. He pulled out dusty books and ancient computer files about Earth's weather patterns. As he dug deeper into the old records, he found something strange. Every few hundred years, there were mentions of golden objects falling from the sky just before periods of exceptional rainfall. The most interesting story was from an old Greek myth about golden apples. But when He compared the ancient descriptions with his scientific data, he realized these might not have been apples at all. They were something else, something that seemed to carry the essence of natural rain itself. His hands shaking with excitement, He opened his global mapping program. He input all the locations where these golden objects had been reported throughout history. The computer analyzed the data and showed him something amazing, a pattern of coordinates pointing to different locations in space. Just then, his office door opened. Dr. Park Duha, his friend and expert in ancient Earth stories, walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. He stopped when he saw the excitement on Heijin's face. "You found something, didn't you?" Duha asked, setting down the coffee cups. He nodded, his eyes bright with discovery. "I think I know why it stopped raining," he said. "And I think I know how we might be able to bring it back." He showed Duha his findings, the energy readings, the ancient stories, and the star map. "These golden objects, they're not on Earth anymore," He explained. "They're scattered across different planets in our galaxy, and I believe they're connected to Earth's natural rain cycle somehow." Duha studied the data carefully. "This is big," he said finally. "Really big. But getting to these objects won't be easy. They're spread across some of the most dangerous parts of space. We have to try," He insisted. "Earth is dying without natural rain. The artificial systems aren't enough anymore. Plants are growing weaker, the soil is losing its nutrients, and our food production is down 30% from last year." Duha looked at his friend for a long moment, then nodded. "We'll need help," he said. "Someone strong enough to handle the dangers of deep space, smart enough to solve ancient puzzles, and brave enough to face whatever's guarding these objects." He smiled. "I know exactly who we need," he said, reaching for his phone. "Commander Lee Suho. He's the only person I know who might be capable of doing this." As He made the call, he looked back at the gray sky outside. Soon, he thought, they might have a chance to bring back real rain to Earth. But first, they would have to solve a mystery as old as Earth itself and travel deeper into space than any human had gone before. The adventure was about to begin. Commander Lee Suho sat quietly in the United Earth Council's meeting room. The walls were made of glass, showing the busy city outside where artificial rain fell from machines right on schedule. He watched the fake rain while listening to Dr. He explain his discovery about the golden orbs and real rain. "So you're telling me," Suho said slowly, "that these golden objects are somehow connected to Earth's natural rainfall, and they're now scattered across different planets?" He nodded eagerly. "Yes, And we need someone strong and skilled to help us find them. Someone like you, Commander. Suho looked at the star map on the large screen. The golden orbs were spread across vast distances. Some were in dangerous places that no human had ever visited. The mission would be very risky, but Earth needed real rain again. The council members whispered among themselves. Finally, the council leader spoke. "We will support this mission," she said. "Commander Lee Suho, you will lead the expedition. We will give you our newest spaceship, the Hercules, and you may choose your team." Suho stood up straight. "Thank you. I already know who I want on my team." He turned to Hejin. "Dr. Hejin, you must come since you understand the science behind these orbs." Hejin smiled and nodded. "Of course. And I suggest we also take Dr. Kim Jae-yun. She's the best atmospheric specialist I know." As if on cue, the door opened, and Dr. Kim Jae-yun walked in. She was carrying a large folder full of weather data. Her eyes were bright with intelligence and curiosity. "I heard about the mission," she said. "The patterns in our atmosphere have been getting worse. We need natural rain soon, or Earth's farms will start failing completely." Suho looked at his team members. Hejin was brilliant with science, but had never been in space. Jae-yun knew everything about weather patterns, but had no combat training. And Park Do-ha, who stood quietly in the corner, knew all the old stories that might help them understand the orbs. They were an unusual team for such a dangerous mission. "We leave in 3 days," Suho announced. "That gives us time to study the maps and prepare our equipment." The next 3 days were very busy. Jae-yun worked on special devices to measure the orb's energy. Hejin packed his scientific equipment. Do-ha brought ancient books that might contain clues about the orbs. Suho spent his time learning about the dangerous areas they would visit. On the morning they were supposed to leave, Suho arrived early at the space station. He found Jae-yun already there, checking the weather equipment one last time. "Are you scared?" he asked her. Jae-yun looked up from her work. "A little," she admitted, "but I'm more excited. Think about it. We might be the ones to bring real rain back to Earth." Suho smiled. He understood how she felt. He had also never felt real rain, but his grandmother used to tell him stories about how it smelled, how it made the plants grow better, and how it made everything feel fresh and new. The rest of the team arrived, and they all boarded the Hercules. The spaceship was beautiful and powerful, painted silver and white. As they strapped into their seats, Suho looked at each team member. "Our first stop is the garden world of Neo-Hesperides," he said. "The computers show one of the orbs is there. But remember, if these objects are as powerful as we think, others might be looking for them too. We must be careful." The engine started with a low hum. Through the ship's windows, they could see Earth getting smaller as they flew up into space. Somewhere out there, the golden orbs were waiting. Suho hoped they would find them in time to save their dying planet. The mission to bring back real rain had begun. After 3 weeks of space travel, the Hercules approached Neo-Hesperides. The artificial planet looked like a giant glass ball floating in space. Inside, they could see beautiful gardens filled with strange, glowing plants. "It's amazing," Jae-yun said, pressing her hands against the ship's window. A whole world turned into a garden. Suho carefully guided their ship toward the landing area. As they got closer, they saw someone waiting for them. It was Dr. Song Min-ah, the guardian of Neo-Hesperides. She stood perfectly still, her silver dress shimmering in the artificial sunlight. When they landed and stepped out, Min-ah greeted them with a slight bow. "Welcome to Neo-Hesperides," she said. Her voice was musical but slightly mechanical. "I am Dr. Song Min-ah, though some call me the garden's guardian." Hejin stepped forward. "Dr. Song, we've come because we believe one of the golden orbs is here. Earth needs it to restore our natural rainfall." Min-ah's eyes seemed to glow faintly. "Yes, I protect the orb, but I cannot simply give it to you. Like the guardians before me, I must test those who seek it." She led them through the garden. The plants were unlike anything they had ever seen. Some had leaves that changed color as they walked past. Others seemed to sing soft, bell-like notes. But the team noticed something else too. There were defense systems hidden everywhere. Laser sensors peeked out from between flower petals. Robot insects watched their every move. The orb stays safe because of 3 challenges, Minna explained. First, you must show you understand nature's patterns. Second, you must prove your strength is guided by wisdom. Third, you must demonstrate that you seek the orb for the right reasons. She stopped in front of a huge glass dome. Inside, they could see the golden orb floating above a pool of water. It glowed with a warm, gentle light. Your first challenge begins now, Minna announced. The garden will create a weather pattern. You must understand it and predict what comes next. Be careful. A wrong answer will activate the defense systems. Jai-yun stepped forward. This was why they had brought her. She watched as clouds formed inside the dome. Wind began to blow, making the plants sway. Then came lightning, followed by different types of precipitation. It's not random, Jai-yun said quietly. The pattern. It's like Earth's old weather cycles. She studied it carefully, making notes on her tablet. The others waited anxiously. After 10 minutes, Jai-yun looked up. I know the pattern, she said. After the current lightning storm, there should be 5 minutes of light rain, followed by clearing skies moving from west to east. Minna nodded slowly. We shall see if you are correct. Everyone held their breath. The lightning storm in the dome began to fade. Then, just as Jai-yun had predicted, a gentle rain began to fall. 5 minutes later, the clouds parted exactly as she had described. Well done, Minna said. You understand nature's rhythms, but this was the easiest challenge. The next 2 will test more than just your knowledge. Suho looked at the golden orb, still floating peacefully in its dome. They were 1 step closer to getting it, but he could sense the upcoming challenges would be much harder. The defense systems seemed to be watching them more closely now. We're ready for the next challenge, he said firmly. But inside, he wondered what kind of test would come next, and if they would all be strong enough to face it. Dr. Song Minna led the team to a new area of the garden. This section was different from the rest. Instead of beautiful flowers, they saw tall metal walls and strange machinery. The air felt heavy with electricity. The second challenge tests more than physical strength, Minna explained. You must show wisdom in how you use your power. She pressed a button on her wrist. The ground shook as 3 giant robots emerged from the ground. Each one was as tall as a house and covered in thick armor. Their eyes glowed red as they looked down at the team. These guardians protect the path to the golden orb, Minna said. In the past, many tried to fight them with weapons and force. All of them failed. Suho stepped forward. As a commander, he was trained for combat. But something about Minna's words made him think carefully. This wasn't just about fighting. What exactly do we need to do? He asked. Reach the other side of this area, Minna answered. The robots will try to stop you. You have 1 hour. The robots moved into position, blocking the path. Their heavy footsteps made the ground shake. He-jin studied them with great interest. Look at their joints, he whispered to Suho. They're connected to the garden's power system. See those glowing lines? Suho nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. This wasn't a test of strength at all. It was a test of understanding. Jai-yun, he called softly. What do you notice about the air around the robots? Jai-yun closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the atmosphere. There's a strange energy pattern. It's similar to the weather system we saw before. Suho smiled. Now he knew what to do. The robots aren't our enemies, he announced. They're part of the garden's balance. We don't need to fight them. We need to work with them. He walked toward the first robot, his hands raised peacefully. The robot's red eyes watched him. Suho stopped and bowed respectfully, just as Minna had done when she first met them. To everyone's surprise, the robot bowed back. Its eyes changed from red to blue. "The garden is about harmony," Suho said to his team. "These robots don't want violence. They want to see if we understand that strength isn't just about power." One by one, the team members approached the robots. Instead of fighting, they showed respect. They demonstrated that they understood the garden's purpose, to protect and nurture, not to destroy. The robots responded by creating a path for them. Their heavy arms moved gracefully, clearing the way to the other side. Minna watched all this with a slight smile. "You have passed the second challenge," she said. "You showed that true strength comes from wisdom and understanding, not just physical power." The team felt proud, but they knew their work wasn't done. There was still one more challenge ahead. "The final test will be the hardest," Minna warned. "It will look into your hearts and judge your true intentions." Suho looked at his team. They had passed 2 challenges by working together and thinking carefully. But what would happen when their hearts were tested? He hoped they were ready for whatever came next. The final challenge area was different from anything the team had seen before. They entered a large circular room where the walls were covered with glowing blue lines that moved like flowing water. In the center of the room stood a tall crystal pillar that reached up to the ceiling. Long ago, Minna explained, the first space travelers created a guardian system to protect the golden orbs. People called it a dragon because they didn't understand what it was. But it's actually an ancient computer program, more advanced than anything we have today. The crystal pillar suddenly lit up. A voice filled the room, neither male nor female, but calm and clear. "I am the Guardian program," it said. "To reach the golden orb, you must solve my riddle. But be careful. This riddle is different for everyone because it comes from your own minds." The glowing lines on the walls began to move faster. They formed different patterns and shapes. Duha watched them carefully, his eyes wide with understanding. "These patterns," he said excitedly, "they're like the old stories about rain. Look, there's the symbol for life-giving water, and there's the mark of the sky spirits." Hajin stepped closer to the wall, studying the moving lines. "It's not just stories," he said. "These are scientific formulas too. They show how water moves through air, how clouds form, how rain falls. The ancient people understood these things. They just explained them differently." The Guardian program spoke again. "To pass this test, you must connect the old knowledge with the new. Show me you understand both the science and the spirit of rain." Jai-yun pulled out her tablet and began making notes. "The patterns are becoming mathematical equations," she said. "But they only make sense if we include the symbolic meanings from the old stories." Suho watched his team work together. Hajin used his scientific knowledge to understand the formulas. Duha translated the ancient symbols. Jai-yun found the connections between them. They were doing exactly what the Guardian program wanted, bringing together old wisdom and new knowledge. After what seemed like hours, Jai-yun stepped forward. "I think we have the answer," she said. "Rain isn't just water falling from clouds. It's part of a great cycle that connects everything. The ancient people knew this, and our science proves it too. The golden orbs aren't just magical objects. They're keys that help planets keep this cycle in balance." The crystal pillar glowed brighter. "You understand," the Guardian program said. "You see that the old stories and new science are 2 ways of explaining the same truth. You have passed the final test." The wall at the far end of the room slowly opened. Through it, they could see the golden orb floating in its protective dome. Minna smiled at them. "You have earned the right to take the orb," she said. "But remember what you learned here. The orb's power comes from understanding both the science and spirit of nature. Use it wisely." Suho led his team toward the orb. As they got closer, they could feel its energy. Warm and alive, like sunshine after rain. They had passed all 3 challenges, but somehow they knew this was just the beginning of their journey. The Guardian program's voice spoke one last time. "There are more orbs to find, and each one will test you in different ways. But you have shown you have the wisdom to continue your quest. The team had just secured the golden orb in a special container when their ship's alert system started beeping. Another spacecraft was approaching Neo-Hesperides at high speed. Suho checked the identification signal, and his face became serious. "It's the Aurora," he said quietly. "That's Choi Yun-seok's ship." Jin looked worried. "Your old teacher. What is he doing here?" Before anyone could answer, a message came through their communication system. The screen showed an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Commander Lee," Yun-seok said, "how wonderful to find you here. I see you've already done the hard work of getting the orb. That will make things easier for all of us." Suho stepped forward. "Professor Choi, I didn't know you were interested in the golden orbs." "Oh, I've been studying them for years," Yun-seok replied. "Their power is remarkable. Think about it. Objects that can control the weather of entire planets. We could do so much more with them than just making rain." Jae-yun moved closer to the container holding their orb. She didn't like the way Yun-seok was talking about using its power. "The orbs aren't tools for us to control nature," she said firmly. "They're part of the natural balance. We're only borrowing their power to help restore Earth's rain." Yun-seok laughed softly. "Such a simple way of thinking. With these orbs, we could control the weather on any planet. We could make storms to power cities, create perfect farming conditions, even change the climate of other worlds for human use." "That's not what they're meant for," Jin argued. "The Guardian program showed us that the orbs are about harmony with nature, not controlling it." "The Guardian program is just an old computer," Yun-seok said, "and I'm giving you a chance to be part of something bigger. Hand over the orb, and we can work together. Think of the power we could have." Suho looked at his old teacher sadly. "You taught me that power without wisdom is dangerous. Have you forgotten that?" Yun-seok's friendly expression disappeared. "If you won't help willingly, we'll have to take the orb by force. My ship's weapons are aimed at you right now." Minna, who had been quietly watching, stepped forward. "You forget where you are, Professor Choi. Neo-Hesperides has its own defenses." The garden's defense systems suddenly activated. Robot guardians appeared, surrounding the team protectively. Energy shields sparked to life around them. "Leave this place," Minna commanded. "You have shown you do not understand the true purpose of the orbs. You are not welcome here." Yun-seok's face filled with anger, but he knew he couldn't fight against the garden's defenses. "This isn't over," he warned. "There are more orbs out there. We'll meet again." His ship slowly backed away and then disappeared into space. The team let out a collective breath of relief, but they knew Yun-seok was right about one thing. This wasn't over. "We should warn the other gardens," Suho said. "They need to know someone else is looking for the orbs." "And we need to hurry," Jae-yun added. "We have to find the remaining orbs before Yun-seok does." The team looked at their precious cargo. One golden orb, safely contained. They had passed the garden's challenges, but now they faced an even bigger problem. The race to find the remaining orbs had begun, and the future of Earth's reign hung in the balance. 3 months had passed since the team left Neo-Hesperides. They had found 2 more golden orbs, each one protected by its own guardian and challenges. Now they had 3 orbs safely stored in special containers on their ship. But strange things started happening. Jae-yun was the first to notice. She was checking the orb's energy readings when she saw something unusual. "The orbs are connecting to each other," she told the others, pointing to her screen. "When we bring them close together, they create new energy patterns." Jin moved closer to look at the readings. "These patterns, they're like the ancient weather maps Du have found. Each orb seems to contain the memory of rain from a different world." The team gathered around the containers. Through the clear walls, they could see the golden orbs floating and glowing. Sometimes, tiny sparks jumped between them, like miniature lightning. "I think I understand now," Du said softly. The old stories weren't just about rain. They were about life itself. Each world that had life also had its own special kind of rain. The ancient people who made these orbs were trying to save these different types of rain. Suho touched one of the containers gently. But why? Why collect rain from different worlds? Before anyone could answer, all three orbs suddenly glowed brighter. The ship's computers started showing new information. Images appeared on their screens. Pictures of different planets, each one with its own unique weather patterns. "Look at this," Jae-yun said excitedly. Each type of rain had its own purpose. Some rain helped plants grow in special ways. Other rain carried minerals that made the soil better. Some rain even helped clean the air of harmful things. Earth used to have many types of rain too, Ho-jin realized. But we lost them over time. That's why our artificial rain doesn't work as well. It's only one type of rain, not the many types Earth needs. As they watched, the orb's light began to pulse in rhythm, like heartbeats. The team could feel something happening, a deep connection forming between the orbs and themselves. "They're trying to tell us something," Jae-yun whispered. "It's like they want us to understand that rain isn't just water falling from the sky. It's a bridge between the planet and all living things." Suddenly, their ship's alert system started beeping again. On their radar, they saw multiple ships approaching. One of them was Yun Seok's Aurora. "He's found us," Suho said grimly. "And he's brought friends this time." But something else was happening too. The orb's energy was growing stronger. Their golden light filled the ship's control room. The team felt a strange sensation, as if the orbs were sharing their ancient knowledge directly into their minds. "Now I see the price of rain," Hejin said, his voice full of wonder. "To bring back Earth's rain, we can't just take the orbs home. We have to learn to think differently about our relationship with nature. The orbs aren't tools, they're teachers." The approaching ships were getting closer. The team had to make a decision. Try to run or stay and face Yun Seok. But now they had something they didn't have before, the beginning of true understanding about the power they carried. As Yun Seok's ships surrounded them, something unexpected happened. The three golden orbs pulsed with bright light, creating a protective shield around the Hercules. At the same time, the orbs sent out a signal, a beautiful pattern of energy that spread through space. "What are they doing?" Suho asked, watching the energy patterns spread. Jae-yun checked her instruments. "They're calling to the other orbs," she said with amazement. "Look." On their screens, they saw more golden lights appearing in the distance. The remaining orbs were responding to the call, breaking free from their hidden places across the galaxy. One by one, they flew through space, drawn to their ship. Yun Seok's voice came through their communication system. "Stop this right now," he demanded. "You don't understand the power you're dealing with." "No, Professor," Suho replied calmly. "You're the one who doesn't understand. The orbs were never meant to be controlled. They're meant to teach us how to live in harmony with nature." The approaching orbs passed right through Yun Seok's ships, making their engines stop working. Soon, all 12 golden orbs were together for the first time in thousands of years. They floated in a circle, their light filling the ship with warmth. "We need to take them to Earth," Hejin said, "but not to control the rain. To help Earth remember how to make its own rain again." The team set course for home. As they traveled, Duha read more from the ancient stories. The old tales say that when all the orbs come together, they can heal a planet's connection to the great cycle of water, he explained. When they reached Earth, they saw dark clouds gathering in the sky. But these weren't from the artificial rain systems. The orbs were already starting to work. The United Earth Council called an emergency meeting. In a large open field, with people watching from all around the world, the team prepared to complete their mission. Each orb contains the memory of rain from a different world, Jae-yun explained to the council. Together, they can help Earth remember all the different types of rain it needs. But we have to promise to stop trying to control nature and learn to work with it instead. The council agreed. The team placed the orbs in a circle on the ground. Golden light spread from them, reaching up into the sky. The clouds above began to move in new patterns, unlike anything the artificial systems had ever made. Then, for the first time in 40 years, natural rain began to fall. People stood in wonder, feeling real raindrops on their skin. The drops were warm and gentle, carrying the memories of 1,000 worlds. Plants seemed to grow stronger right away, reaching up toward the rain. The orbs' light faded slowly. They had become part of Earth again, their power spreading through the planet's natural systems. The artificial rain machines were turned off, no longer needed. "This is just the beginning," Jin said, watching children dance in the rain. "We have so much to learn about working with nature instead of trying to control it." Suho looked up at the rain clouds. Real clouds, making real rain. He thought about their journey, about the guardians and challenges they had faced, about the wisdom they had gained. The golden orbs had done more than bring back the rain. They had taught humanity an important lesson about balance and respect for nature. As the rain fell softly on the earth, flowers began to bloom, and the soil came back to life. The long drought was over, and a new chapter in Earth's story was beginning.